Not only are there musicians from the Valley, but there are writers apparently from the Valley. Security, one of the Unband members is in the house. I'll keep an eye on him. Mike Ruffino reading from his book, Adios, MF.
All right, how's it going? So far, so good, I hope. All right, well, hopefully by bringing a book into the situation, I won't bring it to a crashing halt. So, thank you. I hadn't thought of that. Right, so there's not much to set up here. I think the only bit being I used to live at the Baystate Hotel, physically, in the hotel part, which was not like a regular hotel, in the following ways. The hotel was 3 floors of shell-shocked vets of various wars, only some military, mostly base-functioning alcoholics, ex-patients of the mental hospital up the hill, all men except Gretchen, the den mother at the top of the stairs, who could stop a knife fight with a look, assuming one of the duelists hadn't already peed himself and face-planted. They were all, Gretchen included, casualties of the system, all systems, some you've never heard of, plenty that didn't exist, and all were living off several. Section 8 vouchers, disability checks, duplicitous VA programs. There's plenty of the usual 3-penny chaos, the customary drunken tumbles down the stairs, drinking-related fires, wet-brained feuds, DTs, flashbacks, dissociative episodes, terminal-sounding yet never-ending coughing fits, exploding colostomy bags, indiscriminate urination, antabuse-induced vomiting, bupropion panic, cardiac arrests, antique weapon industries, cigarette thievery, and certainly no dearth of pantsless ranting in the hall. But between the obsessive behaviors, the soup kitchen serving times, and the myriad bureaucracies of assisted living, there was a core of anesthetized routine, and a good deal of the time, the hotel upstairs was quiet. The heating pipes that ran floor to ceiling through all the rooms in the hotel were cockroach highways, and every part of the building creaked and banged, a veritable symphony of dereliction with every footfall. Nicotine stains overpowered layer after layer of paint up to a muddy water line that broke on the walls about 6 inches down from the crown molding. Ron, that's Sarrazin, did have moments of clarity as a landlord, and the place itself wasn't half as verminous as Shaw's or Northampton lodging, the nefarious wino layers across the tracks. My room had been freshly carpeted just before I moved in, and Tommy, an agro vet who lived down the hall, noticed this one day when I left my door open and said, "Oh, pardon me, your highness." Except for the floorboards and the simulcast from Saratoga, the taproom, as the bar downstairs was called, was silent as the crypt and seemed caught in a time loop. All day, every day, you had Ron morose on his stool at the corner of the bar, working through his daily case of Bud Light and playing Keno, whatever that involves, apathy and a golf pencil, basically. Larry, chain-consuming Merit Ultras in his Galliano, and the mute, slight chef lurked pleasantly, but lurked, sucking down Pepsi instead of whatever he used to suck down. He looked like a Bacardi man. And Basic 100 stepping into the kitchen to make something a la king for the bridge club twice a month on Tuesdays. The bartender, Becky, came in on nights, and she'd close the place early sometimes when there were no customers and Ron and Larry had called it a day. I should say that this book is in fact about a band called the Unband, which, full disclosure, I'm a member of. We had played a couple of open mic nights around town as the Unknown Band, wearing grocery bags with eye holes on our heads after the Unknown comic. But setting up a proper gig in Northampton was proving to be more difficult than expected. It was a small town and very insular. I was working on Ron to let the Unband play in the dining room and would bring up the idea with him every so often, usually around 1 p.m. when he was 7 or 8 beers into his drill and upcycling from lunch. That dead-end conversation got sucked into the time loop along with everything else until one day Ron hissed at me as usual and then said, "Talk to Mal." Mal was Mal Thursday, who appeared in the tap room one day wearing a turtleneck under a blazer and Wayfarers like a pickpocket in a French film. He had a small record label that put out albums at 7 inches from local acts, and he'd been negotiating with Ron in regard to booking regular gigs in Ron's undined-in dining room. When Ron relented, Mal got what he called the Baystate Cabaret going, an occasional event at first, eventually 3 bands per night, Thursday through Saturday. It caught on quickly, And as the action at the Baystate ramped up, the town went into a creative surge. Ron, meanwhile, seemed to be in an ever-expanding personal hell on his bar stool 3 nights a week, snarling into a Bud Light bottle amid a throng of shit-faced post-collegiate art types dumping Jägermeister and Miller Lowlife all over the place, while a rock band, often experimental one that had formed on the spot, experimented at jet volume in his dining room. At the bar was always 3 deep irked him no end, despite the fact that from a fiscal perspective, he couldn't have done better if someone had struck oil in the men's room, which, with all the additional traffic and the pre-war plumbing, sometimes appeared to be the case. All right. Onward.